Mr. James was just somebody that was referred to us, and she was very excited in helping us out. So she kind of got us started. We can evaluate that and use other schools, because we do want to utilize, you know, as much partnerships with schools locally as we can. I completely agree with you. And then on the first question of the facility directors, they're very involved in the process. They know that's what their main concern was. Will this affect people wanting to rent our facility? And you know, you're absolutely right. They know their communities. We want to make sure that they're involved, because they know what makes their communities tick. You know, more so than anybody. So they are very involved. And their involvement as well is to make sure they gather kids and families from the area, and make sure that they're doing the other activities that are there while they're painting and stuff. So, like I said, they're very involved.
Question, Ryan.
Yes.
Will there be a mural on the game room wall at all?
Not yet,
Okay.
but this is a project that can change, and we can reevaluate the issue. We plan on doing this, you know, as needed as we move forward.
Okay. I was saying because that entrance is used more, right? And I was, you know,
We
thinking that it would be good to have something so people, when they come in the building, they will see it. Because only people use that other door will be for meetings, right? Mostly.
We use that for our after school program too. So that's the main room used for our enrichment activities.
Now, do they enter that door? Or they enter the
They enter both. They enter both.
Okay.
Well, if the after school program is going on, they enter the game room side.
Right.
But typically, if somebody rents the building, they come in, you know, when the after school program is not going on, and so we tour through the whole facility. But the meeting room side is the most utilized room, I would say, out of all of them. Because the game room is used mostly, you know, for passive recreation, but a lot of the enrichment programs that are going on, the after school beyond the bell, that's going on where the computers are.
So the sign, because I know where the sign-in sheet is, that in the meeting room side, is on the game
The
room?
sign-in sheet's on the game room. So they typically, like you said, they typically come through that game room side, but a lot of them will go into the meeting room. That's where they kind of sit.
Right.
But that doesn't mean in the future that we can't, you know, figure out a way to put something on that side. But we decided to start with the meeting room because that's where our enrichment programs work.
Is there a cost associated with it?
There is. That's the next slide. And for all three, this includes all three of them. We're looking at $500 that we can fund out of our special event budget, because we are making this a special event at each facility. So we'll split that $500 per facility. And because we're making it a daily event, a Saturday, we're able to do that with our budget. Are there any other questions?
I think this is great, though. I think it's going to add a lot to the rec center. I think the kids are going to be excited.
I do too.
And it's going to have some ownership and some buy-in about them feeling good about their rec center.
And based on, you know, this is for information purposes, I believe only, but we're planning on getting started with this, you know, the next month or so. So this is pretty clear. I think February. I think there's a Saturday in February that they're trying to decide today, but we just need a little bit of lead time to get the word out, and then we'll move each month. So hopefully we can get this done by the end of this fiscal year.
Email me when that happens.
I'll keep you guys on that. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You got something?
Any other questions?
You got questions? Okay. Very good. All right. Moving right along.
Okay, next up is Chief Gilliard. We'll offer an update and insights on the American Legion.
All right.
See, now we know why his budget's going up.
Now, you could put a paperclip on there.
We'll charge those $1,000 notebooks to your discretion.
All we need is put a paperclip.
I've heard this in some other news.
Foul of evil.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. It's good to see you at the first of the year. In December's council meeting, just after this new council had taken seat, Mr. Barrett came to city council and address some concerns that was in this community that surrounds the Legion. After meeting with the city manager, city attorney, I went back and met with my staff, and then we got a game plan together to talk to different members of the community. I'm going to Officer Isley give you the briefing, and I'll show you what everything he did. They spent a tremendous amount of time in this community, getting out with the residents, and actually spoke with the folks of the Legion to try to come to some type of agreement and understanding of what the problems are in this community and address them. So I'll let Officer Isley give you the presentation.
Mayor, council, Mr. Faison, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes to talk to you. Chief has already spoke about Mr. Barrett's testimony before you, and I think many of you recall that. So what I'll do is I'll just go right into the PowerPoint presentation, and I just want to guide you to the very last tab in your notebook where it says PowerPoint. Please. Bruce, is it?
Just use the mouse.
That's, okay, all right, no problem. All right, so the American Legion is located at 1010 LaSalle Street here in Monroe, and that's the picture of the American Legion. And just as a point of reference, there could be some parking here, but it's very, you might get maybe 3 or 4 vehicles in there, and that's going to be about it. I want to show you this picture because this picture shows you how Fairmont Street is a neighborhood that has 12 houses on Fairmont Street and 2 houses on a side street off of Fairmont called Habitat Lane. But Fairmont runs right into LaSalle, and right over here is the American Legion. And I'll show you this picture. This is Fairmont Street here. To show you the no parking sign. It says no parking anytime from the corner of Fairmont Street to US 74. So back towards US 74, there's no parking on both sides of the street all the way down. But beyond the American Legion going towards Massey Street, outside of no parking right there, there are no parking restrictions going towards Massey Street at all. And this is just an overview of the neighborhood. The American Legion is here. You got Fairmont across the street, and we talked to every resident in this neighborhood, and you got Habitat Lane going down this way, and we talked to the houses going towards Highway 74, and we also talked to some residents that lives on Massey, Kennedy, Belton streets as well. All right. Inside of your notebook, there's a tab for resident interviews. We did 25 resident interviews, typed them all up, and they're in your notebooks so you can reference them later. But the chief asked us to do a neighborhood assessment, so we interviewed the residents. Fairmont, LaSalle, Massey, Belton, and Kennedy Streets, and we essentially asked them if they had any issues with the American Legion. And at some point later, December 18th, we had a meeting with the American Legion Board to talk about some of these issues. All right, so on the questionnaire, we asked them 3 basic questions. How long have you lived in the community? Do you have any problems and or concerns with the American Legion on LaSalle Street? And is there anything else you'd like to add, or do you have any additional concerns about your neighborhood? And the primary complaints were noise, shots fired, improper parking, and trash in the yard and street. And many of the residents talked about on Sunday mornings how they would have to get up and clean up trash from their yards and neighbor yards and also in the street. Some of the comments that they had, the first 2 comments is from one resident. He says, I witnessed a person fire 3 shots into another person's vehicle. My wife and family, they had a plan. They'd roll out of bed and onto the floor whenever shots were fired because they live near the American Legion, and the way he explained it was American Legion sits low, their house sits high, and they would be in the line of fire if some fired shots came in their direction, directing their home. One gentleman stated his wife is scared and has left home to stay at other places because she doesn't feel safe. And another person mentioned that a person involved in the shooting hid a gun in her yard. And in that particular case where a person hid a gun in the yard, law enforcement, our department located that weapon and seized it. Did not make an arrest, but seized it. We met with the American Legion board members on December 18th and addressed these issues, brought these issues up, and here are some of the things that they expressed. They expressed that the city of Monroe built around their establishment. They've been there for much longer than the neighborhood. With regard to the noise and the shooting, they believe that the issue can be resolved by hiring off-duty security. With regard to parking, they state that the city initially agreed to allow parking on both sides of the street, but later erected the signs prohibiting parking on the street. In addition to additional information regarding parking, they believe that if there are they believe that if there are erected no parking signs, then we should enforce the law. The board also stated the city of Monroe once made an officer by the American Legion, but later withdrew the offer. They also stated that the American Legion opens on Saturdays, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. for fundraising purposes. In addition, one of the board members informed us that he will temporarily suspend operation of the American Legion until they hear further from the city.
When did the city offer to buy that, you know?
Sir, I'm not aware that the city ever made that offer. That's what they expressed, but I'm not aware.
They didn't give a time frame for a person that they talked to.
I'm sorry?
They didn't give a time frame for whoever they said may go.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Ms. Ann, that was brought up a long time ago, prior,
Okay,
I don't know how long,
okay,
it's way before I was the chief, and many, many years before that, so
okay.
I'm not familiar with.
And these are some of the statistics in the area of the American Legion. It may not primarily deal with the American Legion, it could, but this is calls in the area in a 3-year period, 2017, 18, 2019 assaults. We've had 4 in 2019 in and around the area. Disturbance, 5. Noise complaint, 11. And shots fired 8 in 2019. And because this has become an issue, the chief wanted to make sure that we increase patrol over that neighborhood. So patrol more than doubled from 57 in 2018 to 135 in 2019. So those are the statistics regarding that. And I'll be more than happy.
I have a question regarding statistics. You said these weren't primary, right, at the American Legion, but proximity, like from Flower Street over to where?
We did a design that encompassed Fairmont Street, Kennedy Street, Massey, Belmont, and Habitat Lane.
Those
So-
statistics are just those streets?
In that area, yes.
Would it be fair to say for every one call, 15 didn't, I won't say 15, let's say, for every one call, 5 or 6 won't call? So if you got 15 people that call, you got 75 really wanted to.
Mayor, I think the realization is that folks hear shooting and fighting, disturbances so much in their community that sometimes they just do not call because they don't think it's going to make a difference.
That's what I'm saying, you get, a lot of times people say, well, we only had 5 calls over in 3 years. You might not have 5 calls in 3 years, but you had 300 that wanted to call.
Yes.
Problem.
That's fair.
So it's really not a, trying to think of the word I want to say, a true call-in situation for any particular neighborhood, not just that or whatever. Because when you got something going on, a lot of people want to call, but they don't want to get involved.
Yes, and we've had that situation a number of times. I think Chief and I were talking earlier today about an individual who witnessed a crime occur, but his wife did not want him to get involved.
I think
Should
none of
that
it
be
fly,
shut down?
this would fly, basically
Should
all.
that be shut down?
You could probably go right there, Mayor, to the first statistic and get a quick idea about how many that is. 124 calls, but hung up.
Dangerous, but
So there was a lot of concern. They just didn't talk.
They always are, that's why I was saying that one call or 10 calls is not a true picture.
That's true. And based on what you were saying, Mr. Keziah, the fact is, he was just talking to you about what was.
They're just the options that we have working forward, going forward, talking to Legion, see if we can get a schedule when they're gonna have their events and work with them from there. It's tough because the really the issue is the parking that we have over here. We can go out and write parking tickets all day at $5 a piece on Friday night, Saturday night, whenever they're having parties, but it's not gonna solve the problem. And the problem's gonna have to be, hopefully, if we get some communications with the Legion, say, okay, you're gonna have a party, and maybe we can help, so tell the neighborhoods, they're gonna have a party, we'll be out here to work with them, because what are our options? One, relocating the Legion to somewhere else, and is that viable? Because then if we do it for them, then something else is gonna come down.
You just move it to another
Absolutely.
place.
Well, it's a possibility though. I'm thinking that if they got together and redid the operation procedures, it could be handled another way, and I volunteer to do that.
Okay.
Because I know it, even though it's causing problems now, it's an institution in that neighborhood. When it's been there over 75 years, when they started it, caused